Why do I need a useless wife who can't have children? How many years did I wait, hope, and think that it was temporary and that I just needed to wait? Now it's clear. You're just useless, cried the husband, throwing the printed test results on the table. I kindly ask you to listen until the end, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel, as your attention helps the channel grow and allows me to create new and interesting stories. Thank you. Anna froze. His words felt like a stab to the heart. What did you say? She quietly asked, hoping she'd misheard. Michael smirked coldly. You heard me. You're infertile, Anna. It's a fact. No doctors can help, and I don't need your test results. I'm not going to spend my life enduring this. I want a normal family and children. Do you understand? But we could try other options, she said in a choked voice, feeling tears stinging her eyes. No, thank you. I don't need options, he said with disdain. I need a wife who can have children, not excuses. Anna looked at him, feeling her world crumble before her eyes. His words contained none of the love he once professed. So, that's all I meant to you, she whispered. Michael shrugged. What else are you good for? Those words were the last straw. Anna abruptly turned and left the room, slamming the door behind her. At the train station, looking at the giant clock that seemed to deliberately slow its hands, each tick of the second hand echoed hollowly in her chest. The bustling crowd around her, people chatting excitedly on their phones, children squealing with joy, and vendors calling out for pastries and coffee faded into the background noise that couldn't drown out the deafening silence within her. In her hand was a ticket to a small village. What am I heading there for, she thought, to find peace or to hide from myself? Next to it lay a piece of paper folded in quarters with a dry doctor's conclusion. The patient is healthy, the cause of infertility is unknown. The words evoked a bitterness and pain she tried to avoid, but couldn't. She never managed to tell Michael about the results. Perhaps it was for the best. He had already decided to leave, blaming her for their incomplete family. Anna smoothed the lines of the letter as if searching for something new between them. At that moment, a man plopped down on the adjacent bench, tall, with sharp features and light stubble. In his hand was a leash, the other end of which attached to a furry white dog, lying peacefully. Excuse me, the man turned to Anna. Could you watch my friend for just a couple of minutes? I need to step away urgently. Anna raised an eyebrow in surprise but agreed. Of course, it's no problem. She watched the calm dog, and the dog seemed to be evaluating her before resting its head on her lap, clutching the leash with its paws. 5 minutes passed, then 10, but the man didn't return. They announced the arrival of her train. Anna glanced at the clock, then at the dog. Looks like your owner isn't coming back? The dog slightly tilted its head, as if understanding her thoughts. Anna shifted her gaze to the train, leaving the dog at the station amidst the crowd. She couldn't bear it. It would strike too hard on her conscience. Well, it seems you're coming with me, she muttered, sighing. She stood up, took the leash, and with a suitcase in one hand and the dog in the other, stepped toward the carriage. Her life seemed to depend once again on a random turn of events. Anna stepped onto the platform of a small village station, feeling the fresh, slightly cool air tickle her skin. Around her, the grasses rustled and birds chirped. Her Aunt Lydia stood on the platform, warmly greeting her with open arms. "There you are, my dear," Lydia exclaimed with a smile as she hugged Anna, but quickly glanced at her eyes with concern. "Oh, you've grown so thin, and your eyes are sad, but don't worry, stay with me. I'll nourish you and bring you back to your senses." Anna weakly smiled, feeling a slight warmth from Lydia's words, warming her internal cold. Nearby, the dog circled around them. "And who is this? With whom did you arrive, Anna?" "This is Rex," Anna replied, glancing at the dog. "Someone left him at the station. Somehow he decided to come with me." Lydia squinted approvingly. Good dogs don't just go with strangers. Looks like it's fate. Put him in the car too. He may bring you luck. Rex seemed to understand that they were talking about him and wagged his tail happily. The road to Lydia's house took only a few minutes. Her small house with a porch entwined with grapevine was nestled in the greenery. The place reminded Anna of her childhood. The creaking steps, the smell of freshly baked bread from the kitchen, and the quiet, enveloping peace she hadn't felt for so long. The dog quickly became accustomed, inspecting the property and stopping by the chicken coop. Rex did not show any aggression, instantly winning Lydia's approval. He even leaves the chickens alone. Such a clever dog. He might not just bring you luck, but also a good man into your home. Lydia winked and led Anna to the kitchen. Gradually, Anna adjusted to the village life. Every morning started with walks in the blooming fields with Rex. Days passed in household chores and conversations with Lydia. The woman didn't ask unnecessary questions, letting Anna open up when she was ready. One evening, as they were having tea, Lydia shared some news that made Anna slightly uneasy. "Do you know who has returned?" "James." "James?" Anna echoed, vaguely recalling the name. "The son of my friend Mary. You may not remember him. He left about 10 years ago and has now returned. They say he lived abroad, worked and studied to be an architect. Now he seems to be planning to settle here." Anna paid little attention to the story. But soon circumstances brought them together at a local fair where Lydia had invited Anna to buy fresh vegetables. Rex, who had been calmly walking beside her, suddenly bolted forward, almost yanking the leash from her hand. "Rex, stop!" Anna called, hurrying after him. The dog stopped beside a tall man with dark hair and a calm gaze, wagging his tail as if he had met an old friend. The man crouched down, ruffled Rex's ear, and smiled. "Well, hello, buddy. How did you end up here?" he said, petting the dog. Anna caught up, breathing heavily and nervously fixing her hair. "I'm sorry, this is my dog. Well, almost..." But the man stood up, looking at her intently. "Rex, you say? Interesting. He used to be mine." Anna stared at him, stunned, hardly believing such coincidences were possible. Evening in the village was especially quiet. Anna and James sat on Aunt Lydia's porch, enjoying the cool air. Rex settled at James's feet, laying his head on his paws. The moonlight illuminated their faces, and time seemed to stand still. "So you're saying he was yours?" Anna began cautiously, petting Rex. "Yes, he was. I bought him as a puppy about 5 years ago, when I still lived in the city with my wife. At the time, we thought our family was about to be complete. My wife was expecting a child, and Rex was supposed to be our family friend," James said, his voice growing quieter. He paused, unsure of how to continue without causing pain. "The baby wasn't born. There were too many complications. Olivia, my wife, withdrew into herself, and I threw myself into work. Rex was the only thing holding us together." He paused again, looking at the dog. Rex, sensing his mood, lifted his head and gazed at him with warm eyes. "I tried to pull her out of that state, but nothing worked. And eventually, I realized we had become strangers to each other. The divorce was inevitable." Anna gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "And you came back here?" James smiled, though his smile held more sadness than joy. "I did. Home always seemed like a refuge. Everything is different here. The people, the air, even time flows differently. And you know, it helped." Anna nodded, deeply moved by his story. "And Rex? How did he end up there?" "I left him with a neighbor when I left for abroad. I intended to bring him when I got settled, but time passed and I kept putting it off. When I returned to the village, I found out the neighbor had moved to another city and Rex had gone missing. I searched for him, but to no avail," James explained, running a hand over the dog's head before suddenly laughing. "And now here he is, as if nothing happened. It seems his fate is to find new owners." Anna smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. You know, he found me at a moment when I desperately needed it. Maybe he comes back to those who need him most. James looked at her, and for a moment, the silence between them spoke volumes. At that moment, her phone rang. Anna glanced at the screen, feeling tense. It was Michael. Yes, Michael, she said, stepping aside. Her ex-husband's voice was confident, even demanding. Anna, I've been thinking, and it's not getting any easier after the divorce. I want to come back. Anna felt a mix of surprise, anger, and bitterness. Come back, she echoed, struggling to stay calm. Do you remember what you said? That it was all my fault, that I couldn't give you what you wanted. He hesitated but maintained his cold tone. I was wrong. Maybe I thought, whatever, it doesn't matter. The important thing is, I want to fix this. You know what? The situation has fixed itself, but without you, she replied, hanging up the phone and returning to James, who silently watched her. Is everything okay? He asked. Now it is, she answered, feeling the burden she had carried for years suddenly lighten. That evening, the village was particularly quiet. Anna returned from a walk, pensively petting Rex, who circled around her ankles. Lydia had already gone to bed, and the house was filled with a cozy silence, only occasionally broken by the crackling of logs in the stove. Anna was sitting at the table, sorting through old letters, when her phone rang. Anna, hi, it's Lisa. Are you in the village? Her old friend's voice was cheerful. Anna was surprised. They hadn't spoken for several years, but memories of their old friendship warmed her heart. Hi, Lisa. Yes, I am. Listen, did you know Michael recently received treatment in a clinic in Seattle? What do you mean? Anna frowned. Well, he knew he had health problems a long time ago, Lisa continued, not noticing the impact her words had on Anna. They said even before your wedding he was diagnosed. They said his chances of having children were minimal. Diagnosis? Anna barely managed to ask. Yeah, they said he was the problem, not you. Strange, huh? For a moment, Anna closed her eyes, trying to make sense of what she had just heard. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for letting me know. Ending the call, Anna remained sitting in the empty kitchen, feeling everything inside her turn upside down. Michael had known all along. He had blamed her while hiding the truth about himself. She recalled those endless conversations, accusations, his refusals to undergo medical tests. Tears welled up, but Anna gritted her teeth, forcing herself to hold it together. Everything that had been said seemed like one big lie. She stood, hugging herself, as if shielding herself from the overwhelming emotions. The next morning, Anna met James at the local square. The fair was in full swing, with vendors eagerly offering their goods. You look sad, James noticed, looking at her with concern. Hesitantly, Anna told him about her conversation with Lisa. He knew all along, knew the problem was with him, and still he blamed me. Why do people do that? James was silent, but his eyes showed a mix of sympathy and shared pain. Anna, he said softly, I understand how hard it is. When my wife left, I also tried to figure out who was to blame. In the end, I blamed only myself. But you know what I realized? It's not about who's to blame, it's about how you want to live from now on. She looked at him, trying to comprehend his words. And how do you want to live? She asked. James smiled, his gaze dropping. In the past few days, I've started to believe that life can get better. And you know why? Because you made me believe that happiness is possible. Anna felt warmth spread through her heart. Me, she whispered. He didn't respond verbally, but his eyes spoke for him. For the first time in a very long time, Anna felt understood. Here was someone who saw her not as a victim, but as a person capable of finding happiness. "Thank you, James," she said softly. "You have no idea how much your words mean to me." He reached out, covering her hand with his own. "And it means a lot to me that you're here." Their silence was more eloquent than any words. The world around them continued its hustle and bustle, but for the two of them, time seemed to stand still, as if they had finally found in each other what they had long sought. The summer evening in the village was surprisingly warm and quiet. Anna and James sat on Aunt Lydia's porch, enjoying the scent of freshly cut grass. Rex seemed busy with his own matters, wandering nearby and occasionally glancing their way as if checking that everything was all right. "Anna," James broke the silence, his voice sounding a bit uncertain. She turned to him, slightly surprised by this serious tone in his voice. "You know, since we met, I've been thinking," he hesitated, choosing his words carefully, "that you've become important to me. Very important." Anna froze, feeling a slight sting of fear. "James, this is all so fast." But he raised a hand, asking her to listen. "Please, let me finish. I know you've been through hard times. I understand that trusting again isn't easy. But maybe we can try without promises, without obligations, just see where it leads us." She looked at him, feeling two forces battling inside her: the desire to believe and the fear of being hurt again. "I don't know, James, it's all so complicated," she said, looking away. At that moment, Rex suddenly barked and ran towards the forest. "Rex!" called Anna, but the dog didn't come back. "Where is he going?" "He might have gone into the forest," James guessed, already getting to his feet. "Let's go find him." They rushed to the edge of the forest. The setting sun cast long shadows through the trees, making the forest seem gloomy. "Rex!" Anna called, trying to control her anxiety. "Don't worry, he's smart, he won't go far," James assured her, but his voice also held a note of concern. After a few minutes, they heard rustling in the bushes, and Rex appeared before them. Standing there, he looked for something in the grass. Seeing Anna and James, he wagged his tail happily as if to say, "I'm here, everything's fine." Anna laughed with relief, dropping to her knees and hugging the dog. "Rex, you'll give me a heart attack," she mumbled, petting his head. James, smiling, knelt beside her. "See, he's safe. Everything's fine." Anna looked up at James. "Are you always this calm?" He shrugged. "When it comes to those I care about, I try not to panic." These words touched her heart. She felt that special lightness again that she experienced around him. "James," she said quietly, "I don't want to rush you. All I'm asking for is a chance to be close, to see if we can build something real." For a long while, she was silent, looking at Rex, who had settled at her feet. "You know, James," she finally said, "I think for the first time in a long time, I want to give myself that chance." He couldn't hide the smile spreading across his face. "You won't regret it," he replied confidently. They slowly rose and headed back home. The moon was already rising over the village, and its light was soft and warm. Anna felt that with every step she was leaving her fears behind, making the first step towards something new and possibly real. Summer in the village was in full bloom. The sunlit meadow where grass had just been mowed was soaked with freshness. The breeze carried the scent of flowers, and somewhere in the distance birds were singing. On the meadow, Anna and James played with Rex. The dog, as if sensing it was his moment, joyfully ran around, occasionally running up to them with a stick in its mouth, inviting them to play. "He's tireless," laughed Anna. "He acts like it's his calling." James, sitting in the grass, watched her with a smile, noticing the happiness shining in her eyes. "Maybe not herding sheep, but keeping us on our toes, he certainly can," he replied, throwing the stick farther. Rex dashed off after the prize, and Anna came over to James and sat beside him. "Hard to believe it's been a year already," she said, gently stroking his hand. "Do you remember how it all started?" He nodded, smiling. "Feels like it was just yesterday. You showed up with this rascal at the station, and now you're my wife." Anna smiled and looked down at her slightly rounded belly. "And soon we'll be 3. Well, if you don't count Rex." James looked at her with warmth and a hint of pride. "He's the big brother, but I think the baby in the house will bring us just as many challenges as he does." Anna laughed and rested her head on his shoulder. "I think we can handle it. Now I truly believe everything will be all right." Rex returned with the stick, wagging his tail insistently. Anna sighed and smiled, taking the stick from him. "One more time!" The dog barked eagerly, and she threw the stick again, laughing. "Sometimes I think he chose us for each other," James mused, watching Rex run off again. Anna looked at her husband. "Maybe. Everything happened so strangely, yet so perfectly." He smiled and kissed her forehead. "What matters is that we're together now." Anna traced her fingers along his cheek, feeling the warmth of his skin, and closed her eyes. "I'm happy, truly happy." Rex couldn't resist and came back, nudging Anna with his nose as if saying, "Hey, no more sitting around, play with me." "All right, buddy," laughed James, standing up. "Let's show him who's boss." Anna smiled, watching her 2 favorite beings play on the sunny meadow. The wind gently stirred her dress, and she felt an extraordinary calmness. Her life was now filled with light, warmth, and the anticipation of a new, even happier chapter. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases. See you soon.